This is the one and only Heroes of Marvia. And what I'm going to teach you today is something you are not going to find anywhere else. Not only are we going to go through all of the beginner steps very, very quickly for those of you who want to get straight into the game and for those of you that don't care about it, but we're actually going to get into some more advanced and intermediate tips that are going to tell you just how to build up your gold storages, get as much oil as possible, and really rank up in Heroes of Marvia quickly so that you can upgrade your bases and become one of the most feared leaders in the Marvia game. So, first thing we're going to jump into is what to upgrade first. In my opinion, you always want to upgrade the army camps first. These are the rally points right here. As you can see, as you can upgrade them, you tend to get +5, but this stacks up really quickly. On the very first upgrade up to level 2, you actually get +10. So this increases the amount of soldiers you can have in the battle, and you really need that when you're fighting and raiding enemies and trying to get as much loot as possible. It is very, very important. I'm going to show you how to maximize that soon. The only thing I should add when mentioning upgrading walls is you probably don't need to do it until you're at HQ4. For HQ 1, 2, and 3, do not bother upgrading them. Make sure you build them, they're relatively cheap, but you do not need to upgrade them yet. After you start to get to the later headquarters, you want to upgrade your ice tower first, your mortar, and your air defense. Now the issue is that these 3 buildings take a very long time to upgrade, so try doing it when your shield is up, or do it when you're sleeping or you have no resources for people to steal, because your base will be extremely vulnerable when any of these 3 are being upgraded. The other thing you should be upgrading is obviously your collectors, just to help you collect a little bit faster, and they are pretty much the cheapest thing in the game to upgrade, so there's really not much of a downside. Now, the missions is a really key part of the early game of Marvia and even into the mid game of Marvia. You can see that you can go to any of these missions and click attack. These will not eliminate your shield. If you have a shield from players attacking you, this will not get rid of it. What you need to consider is that when you go into the missions, the only thing you need to destroy is actually the headquarters of the enemy base to steal all the resources. So go in, kill the base, and that's it, you're done. In this example, you could probably throw some carts, boom carts down here. They would destroy the wall in front. You could take out the headquarters really quickly, efficiently, without using that many troops, and get out with all of the rewards. Now, how do I recommend going about using these missions? It's very, very simple. Leave them last, okay? Do not do them straight away. You're gonna get yourself into a trap. Basically, get all of your upgrades out of the way. And when it's time to upgrade the headquarters, get up as many resources as you can. When the missions can be that stopgap to get you, say, from 500k to 700k, that's when you do the missions, because that last amount is really hard, especially as you get more trophies and fight harder opponents. Use the missions to upgrade your headquarters. You should not be using it for anything else. Okay, for headquarters 4, you can do up to mission 10 quite easily, and then it gets a little bit harder. For headquarters 5, you can pretty much do most things. Being able to upgrade Myra helps a lot. The next thing we should talk about is how to save resources. There are 3 really great methods for protecting your resources. Firstly, spend as much as you possibly can. For gold, an easy way to do this is by upgrading your walls. And for oil, a really easy way to do this is to go to your research center and find the highest one and try and upgrade that thing. I do not have any upgrades available right now, but try and go and upgrade something in your research center, and that is going to use up all of your oil. The second option is to put your HQ outside of your base like this. Some people might come and attack it, get 2 stars, 1 star out of you, and leave your resources alone, giving you a shield and protecting your resources. Doesn't work all the time. It does help sometimes. If you're trying to hold your trophies, do not do that. The third option is to put the mortar and the ice tower on the inside of your base, right next to all of your storages. That is going to deter players who are not trying to risk too many units, only putting a few things in the battlefield. It's going to be a lot harder for them to get to your resources, and it's going to spend them a lot more time and effort, and they might just move on to something else. That is the third way to do it. How to avoid getting attacked. Big walls can be a surprisingly good deterrent. And the other thing is making it really difficult to bait your heroes. Players will attack the bases where they can bait the hero out easily. If your hero's more in the center and your walls are really hard to get through, it's going to make it a lot harder because people don't seem to like to use the explosives all too much. And that is going to be the best way to deter people attacking you in general. That and putting the headquarters really dead center makes it really hard for them to get those 2 or 3 stars that they might be after. So they're 2 very different strategies, and it's very hard to do both at once, so keep that in mind. Now let's go through the different units in Heroes of Marvia. If I go to research, it's going to be really easy for me to see them all. First one is strikers. You definitely want to spread them out. They do a lot of damage and have okay HP, but they are very squishy, so mortars and ice towers will take them out very, very quickly. Make sure they are spread out when you're attacking, but they can demolish enemy bases really quickly if you've taken out some of the really big threats. Next up, we've got Marines. They do a similar job. They don't do nearly as much damage, but you can get them a lot further away. It's very easy to pick off buildings without the enemy attacking back with the Marines, and they're pretty decent for baiting out the hero as well, although the strikers are much better for destroying the hero for you. Next up, we have the Brutes. They will target just the defenses, run straight towards them. The walls can get in their way a little bit though, so you're going to want to make sure to clear that up for them. They have really good HP, especially when you get some upgrades, and their damage is okay, but really they're just for soaking up hits. Next up, you've got Blaze, who also targets buildings, except this one does AoE damage from a range. He has really low HP. If he gets targeted by anything, he is going to evaporate so fast. Last up, we have Markswoman, very similar to Marine. She's really expensive to get into the base, but you can pick off things at a serious range and do some really good damage. Very good for picking off buildings to help clear a path for the rest of your team. Next, we've got Boomcart, goes up to walls and explodes. Very quick, very efficient. It's actually very hard to kill them before they get to a wall, unless they've got a lot of buildings spread out past the walls. Next up, we've got Skyfire, a standard ranged air unit that's actually does pretty solid damage. Its HP is a little bit low, but it's not too bad considering there aren't many air defenses. Basically, it can demolish an entire base a lot easier than you might think. The only downside is if it gets caught in an ice tower, you're basically screwed, and it needs to make sure to take out the anti-airs quickly if possible. Last up, we've got Flying Whale here. Does a lot of damage, insta-destroys things, does AoE damage, has okay hit points. But really, if the anti-airs are still in the base, they are not going anywhere. Do not bother using them. Myra is really good. Her biggest weakness is actually the enemy hero, okay? So you need to make sure you take that out first so Myra isn't distracted. But after that, she can pretty much go through and wipe out an entire base on her own, as long as you help guiding her and directing her with the rest of your army. Next up, let's have a look at good strategies for gaining resources, okay? There's one really key strategy that you might not know about, especially if you're very new to this type of game, and that is what I would call a hit and run, and let's go and explore it right now. Basically, you'll take in an army of really decent troops, but really a lot of smaller troops. And basically, you're going to try and maximize the amount of damage you can do with as few troops as possible to just steal resources, get maybe 1 star, and get out as fast as possible. This is going to help you steal resources without necessarily meaning you need to spend a lot of resources or time yourself. And it means you can attack hundreds and hundreds of bases in pretty quick succession. We can see I really like to use the boom carts for this strategy, as well as put the strikers in, but Marines are just as good. Myra is really helpful because she regens really fast as well. Unfortunately with this, we have the option of either going straight for resources or trying to bait out Myra and take out the base. If we're going for a resources strategy, here is how I would approach it. I would take out all the buildings on the side because they're going to slow down the army way too much. And then the mortar is going to destroy my entire army. Then we're going to chuck down some carts and open up the base. And after that, we're going to chuck in Myra, a handful more strikers, open up the left side of the base, or at least they're going to go through to the center now. Open up the left side of the base and really only used 20 strikers, 30 strikers. So really not that many in this run. And then if we zoom in, we can see that they're taking out all of the buildings that are holding the resources really, really quickly and efficiently, and they're just doing their job. These will probably be able to actually take out the base since I managed to bait out the enemy hero pretty easily there, which wasn't really my goal. They are going to destroy the base, but you don't really need to. They just need to take out these 2 storages, a couple of things at the back, and you're done. A combination of Marines and Strikers can also help really well because you never know what sort of base you're going to come up to. But you can do this over and over again because at about the time it takes to do this raid is a similar time period to what it takes to train up those 20 Strikers all over again. We'll let this one really quickly wrap up. And they're going to go into the center. See, if I had every single striker on the board, this thing would be destroyed in like one hit. You can see how few are remaining, but you really don't need that many. The time is very generous in Heroes of Marvia. It's just as generous in other games of similar genres. Very easy to take out. You get your Ruby, you get your really quick attacks in. The other strategy is doing the same thing but with Marines. Just for the sake of showing this, I'm going to actually remove all of my strikers here. You can actually go into my units and hit little X to remove them. And now I've got 80 Marines instead. I'm going to go straight back in. Myra's already full health. If she doesn't take too much damage, she recovers very fast, but she only takes about a minute to recover, which is very, very generous. It gets harder the higher levels she becomes. This base is probably fine. You can see that all the collectors around the edges, all the oil things, you can see if I place my Marine back here, it's actually going to be able to take out this collector for free. You can do that for all the collectors, almost all of them. The ice tower actually has really limited range, which makes it good for that. I'm going to drop in 20 Marines. And just to help me get this gold storage over here, I'm going to drop in Myra as well. And I'm going to be able to basically take out all these buildings, get 1 star, get a bunch of resources for free in the same time it takes to recruit those Marines all over again. A very efficient way, especially if you're just chilling on the couch or watching a TV show or something. You can just do this in your spare time, get everything you need, and then get out and just keep doing it over and over again until you have all the resources you need. It is very easy to do. You can see they're slowly making work on the outside there. Really, you need Marines at level 2 before you can use them in the game. Level 1 Marines are absolutely horrible. Level 3 and 4 strikers are really good as well. But level 1 strikers are much, much better than level 1 Marines. Level 2 are better than 2 and 3 strikers. And then strikers start to take it a little bit from there. But Marines have the range, which makes them really useful in a different way. So the ice tower is going to pick up now, which is perfectly fine. Even this with this base, since it was a bot base, I can do it without even losing trophies. If I exit now, I don't lose any trophies, but I did get 50% pretty much for free, and I can exit now before Myra drops. So make sure that it takes a little bit less time for her to heal up when we get back to the base. And that is pretty much some really great attacking strategies to help you generate as many resources as possible, as quickly as possible. I hope that's really helpful for you guys. So the next thing we've got is Sapphire. What should you spend Sapphire on? For anyone who doesn't know, if you click little plus and you go into Sapphire, it costs 5 USD for 600, 1 USD for 100, and then it does get a little bit better as you get later into it. But what should you use it on? Personally, because getting resources is so difficult, I don't really think you need to use Sapphire on upgrading buildings, okay? You don't really need to speed that stuff up. If you're trying to expend all your resources so you don't lose them, that might be an okay use case. For those of you that want to spend Sapphire on resources, you can almost do this by proxy. All you need to do is you need to go to recruit. You can click on whatever you want, let's say 10 Marines. You click finish now and click 4 to finish it off with the Sapphire. And you just recruited some Marines very, very fast. Well, instantly, right? And the point of that is that you can recruit your army over and over again by spending Sapphire. And this will allow you to raid really consistently and often while you're online so that you can gain as many resources as possible. Now, obviously it takes a little bit more effort than just buying resources outright, but this is really the only way to do it. And this is the hardest part of the game right now, is actually grinding for those resources. So that is the best way to spend your Sapphire at this time. So the other thing is key buildings in the base, and what are they for? Firstly, the rally point is for a bigger army, defenses are used for helping stop raids, and walls slow down troops way more than any other building in your base. The other thing is that storages slow down troops a lot as well. As you can see, the gold storage here has 700 hit points as compared to a turret with 430. And a vehicle factory with only 420, your storages have about twice the HP of pretty much every other building in your base, except for the HQ. They even have more than things like the mortar. So use the storages on the inside areas of your base because they slow down troops the most. And if you can imagine a bunch of strikers really grouping up to hit down a storage, the mortar can take them out even easier. So storages are very good for defense. Now, as for base building tips, there are two key options. You have firstly, heavy fortification like I've done with lots of individualized walls around different buildings and things like that, keeping your anti-airs, mortar and ice tower really close together. And your other option is making sure you protect the mortars and the ice tower and everything keeping in range of each other. You can see the ice tower can reach anything attacking the mortar and vice versa. The mortar can reach everything outside of the walls as well. The ice tower can also reach this turret, my HQ a little bit, and these storages over here. Making sure these things align properly makes a really big difference when you're defending your base. The other thing is redirection. Now, I haven't done it in this case, but walls can redirect troops really easily. They tend to take the path of least resistance. For example, I could move all these walls here. And so as soon as a striker takes out all of the surrounding buildings, they won't actually go to this point here, right next to the collector, and destroy the wall to get into the base. They won't. They'll actually walk to the back and then walk through the walls straight through an ice tower, which is going to be hitting them every step of the way and all of their friends, which is going to be really efficient. So you can build really elaborate mazes and tricky contraptions inside your base to redirect units to them, because they aren't going to path around unless they destroy the walls first. Even the casts that destroy walls path really awkwardly as well. So walls are the greatest way to build out your base. If you are not using them efficiently, then you are not maximizing your potential to stop people from taking your resources. I cannot put that any other way. So the next thing we should talk about is Ruby. As you can see in the top right hand corner here, I have 740 Ruby, but what is it for? Basically, Ruby is the major earning mechanic of Heroes of Marvia. You can gain up to 100 Ruby a day by 3-starring enemies, and in the future, integrating land will allow you to earn more, but that is not currently in the game. But how can you earn with them? You'll be able to craft NFTs with Ruby, and you will also be able to buy NFTs from other players with Ruby on the in-game marketplace. Then you can take these NFTs on the web marketplace and sell them for Ethereum or whatever other currencies are happening. Okay, so that is basically the way to earn. Get as much Ruby as you can, because that is going to be the primary way to earn in the game, besides land getting things like airdrops and stuff like that. There might also be airdrops for people in the game, for example, with alliance wars and things like that, but we don't know the full details yet. Alliance wars are very likely to mimic Clash of Clans, but what does this mean for those of you that are unfamiliar? Basically, you and your alliance are in teams of 25, okay? You will see the opposing alliance and you will essentially have to go, I want to attack. You get up to 2 attacks, I think, per player. And you go, I want to attack their 7th best and their 10th best player. Try and get as many stars as possible. You repeat that on both sides. Sometimes you might be like, I'm the best player in my alliance. Really, I'm the only one that can take out their number 1 base. So I should really try and do so. And essentially you have to get the most stars overall. So whoever gets the most 3s, 2 stars and so on manages to win the alliance war. And it takes a lot of careful planning on how to eliminate the enemy bases. Now, there is one more thing I need to show you. Okay, and it's very, very simple. Now, if we go to the game and jump to the settings by clicking our little profile picture on the top left, going to settings, and then hitting this little button right below my head that says enter creator code. After you click that, make sure you type in Scoriox to show your support for me. If you got it for someone else, that's fine too, I don't mind. But I really appreciate the support, so please go and put in that creator code. I hope you guys learned something in this beginner guide for Heroes of Marvia.